Here we go. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Surviving to Thriving for Highly Sensitives. And I am your guide and host, Tammy Goen, high sensitivity coach. And here we talk about everything high sensory, all the tools, everything that people are experiencing all the time to help everyone go from that place of struggle and overwhelm and really feeling just less than, what all those things that come up, to really embracing the trait and thriving. So it's good to have you back, and I'm so excited. We have a special guest today, so I will introduce her very soon. And as always, please do reach out if you have any questions or want to make any connections, and I'll be offering those options as well for my lovely guest, Kristin, and you can connect with her as well. So, let me make sure I can see my screen. One moment, please. Tech glitches are always fun. Okay, so I want to introduce lovely Kristin. And I didn't double check that I have been pronouncing your name correctly, but Lemaster, did I do that right? Yeah, okay, perfect. So Kristin is an energy coach and founder of Soulful Navigation. Her passion is helping busy people, most of us, who are exhausted, unfulfilled, and caught in a self-improvement cycle to get unstuck and learn to use their energy to create more time, ease, and opportunities and vitality so that they can focus on things that matter most. And I'm going to pause for just a moment. And then unmute. Okay. Sorry about that. We had to do another little tweak. So Kristin is a scientist and an engineer who has studied more than 30 energy modalities in the past 20 years, which I find rather fascinating. I'm always learning new things, but to fit that much in such a short amount of time is pretty astounding to me. And her mission is to condense her extensive energy knowledge and experience into a simple and easy to implement program, which we will talk about in a little while. And she also strives to create a nourishing, supportive community where people can accelerate their personal and spiritual growth by sharing their journeys together. And her focus is on saving people time, money, overwhelm, and loneliness, like it took her to tap into the power of energy of the heart. Oh, then that is the heart of her business. So I am so excited to have you here, Kristin. And we've been talking this month about boundaries, and this is on energetic boundaries, but I really would like to just take a deep dive into energy in general, because it's so important for us highly sensing folks. So if you wouldn't mind, I'd just have you start and just kind of share a little bit about you and your story. And I would just really want to hear about how you became so interested in energy and that became your life's work.
Sure. Thanks, Tammy. And thank you for having me. And Tammy and I were just talking too about maybe if we want to just take a minute to take a deep breath together. I know as highly sensitive people, a lot of our awareness is always on everything that's happening around us. But for the next 30 minutes, we actually have the chance to kind of ignore all of that and come inside. So if everyone wants to, if you're able to maybe close your eyes and just give yourself permission to take some of the awareness from the outside world into your body and into your inner world. And maybe collectively, even if you're watching the replay, we can all take a deep breath together. So let's take one more natural breath. And then let's all take one really deep inhale. And exhale. And just feel yourself start to come into your body. And if you're sensing your energy, that fullness that you might feel, let's shift some of it into our legs and our feet, just to help us be grounded in the present moment. And that's it. Just know that you can always bring a little bit more of your awareness from the outside world inside. And that really can be an incredible, quick, off the cuff tool for highly sensitive people to stop the escalation of the overwhelm. So thank you for giving me the chance to do that.
Thank you for that. We can never have too much of that time to go within and focus and be aware with our energy. So thank you.
Welcome. You're welcome. So, so Tammy, thank you for asking me too. So my name is Kristin Lemaster. I am an energy alignment coach. I really try to help people align their outer world with their inner world, because that really does take a lot of the stress out of life, helps you kind of fulfill your purpose. I am a highly sensitive person. I grew up in a household without a lot of highly sensitive people around me. They're wonderful. Just a different kind of life experience. And I also have 2 highly sensitive children. So for me, this idea of the next generation of highly sensitive people to be able to not just, like you say, learn how to survive, but to actually grab onto the strengths that they have, right? So I always say, like, has anyone ever told you that you're too sensitive, like it's a bad thing? Because actually being too sensitive comes with an incredible set of tools to help you navigate life. So that's kind of what I'm all about. I got into energy very early in my life as a highly sensitive person, sensing these subtle interactions, right, that happen around us, and tying that into the sense of energy, my own sense of spirituality. But for me, I lost a good friend when I was a teenager to cancer, and I was a witness to that cancer journey and really kind of experienced the oneness, right, that we all can have during moments like that, where everything that's not important gets stripped away and you're kind of down to your raw essence. And for that experience for me was one of pain and beauty at the same time, confusion and clarity at the same time. It really was a lot of the separateness kind of dissolved. And for me, I really felt like the height of my spiritual development really happened during that phase. And from there, I went on to be a scientist and an engineer, because as a highly sensitive person, I actually needed a break. And I went to live in a world where I could, I knew what the rules were, right? Engineering is very predictable rules. I got to use my thinking mind instead of my heart, right? So my 20s were kind of spent regrouping, but really picking up a lot of skills that allowed me to then go on to study everything from modern quantum science all the way to a lot of ancient shamanic traditions used by indigenous peoples around the world for healing, for journeys, for just all kinds of spiritual practices. So yeah, so that's who I am.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you work with anyone, not just highly sensing people, but you certainly understand, how, it's that much more important for us to really have that connection and be able to honor that connection. I mean, I hear a lot of people, like, when they come to see me, first they'll say, can you just make me not so sensitive? And then, yeah, I mean, that can be sad, right? Because it's like, oh, those other things that you're missing, even though we're, trying to get rid of the struggle piece, but all of that other stuff that, is so amazing, right? And then the other piece is like, I don't know what to do with this energy. I mean, it's everywhere. I can't, because I always talk about it as like we're being giant sponges without the filters, right? So it's coming in, and people really are aware of that, how much they're affected by energy. So it's super important for everyone, but especially for highly sensing people. So could you talk a little bit about intention in terms of, like, especially for highly sensing people, why it's so important to be clear about your energy and really have an intention around it, versus just kind of letting things happen to us?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I will say too, one of the things that I have learned in all of the studying that I've done is intention is everything when it comes to energy. So thank you for bringing that up. So I wanted to mention that, for highly sensitive people, it actually is a two-way street. We are very sensitive to what's happening outside of us, but we're also very sensitive to what's happening within us. So when we do start to sense our energy and learn how to use our energy, it can feel very powerful, like, whoa, there's, shoot, now I'm overwhelmed in here in addition to being overwhelmed out there. So I do think that the intention around aligning yourself with your energy is very important, because what it does is the intention is to come out of resistance and start to be in a flow state with your energy, with your spirit, right? The whole mind, body, spirit, it's about letting the spirit come forward and lead. But we have been taught our whole lives to not do that, right? To use our mind more. So again, the intention, there's so much that goes into it. It is accepting uncertainty. When we let our spirit lead, we never really know how everything will unfold for us. It's about having trust in yourself, knowing that your spirit always works in your highest good. Your energy will never leave you astray, and really developing that trust within. And what happens is when you start to get into that flow state with your energy, the outer world will align with that vibration. And then it's like someone just clears the path for you wherever you go. But I love that we're talking boundaries this month, because sometimes energetic boundaries are a little bit misunderstood. So I don't know if we want to talk about that now, or if you had other questions.
Absolutely. That's great. Yeah, whatever your take is on that, because, and I know a lot of people don't like the term boundaries. There's a lot of other words that we can use. I mean, I tend to just use that because people understand, what I'm talking about, but it is important to recognize that we're not trying to like shut ourselves off from the world, but I'm sure you will be talking some about that. So yeah.
That's exactly it. So I wanted to go backwards just a little bit and kind of do a run up to the boundaries. I'm probably going to be repeating a lot of information that you know and your viewers know, but one of the traits, the trait of being highly sensitive, is that we are able to perceive subtle things that are happening around us.
That's my favorite thing.
And it's because it's a survival instinct, right? So what happens is that when we are picking up all of this subtle information, that's where our awareness is, right? Our awareness now is outside of us, because we're trying to sense when the saber-toothed tiger is sneaking up behind us, right? And in the energy world, every modality I have ever taken always starts with a version of the same statement, which is your energy follows your awareness. So for highly sensitive people, so much of our awareness is outside of ourselves, because we are automatically triggered by everything that we're sensing out here. But that means our energy is out there as well. Now, we can't live as a human being and have 100% of our awareness in our body, right? That's meditation, right? When you have 100% of your awareness in your body, obviously you're not sensing anything out there, right? Mindfulness, we say, is like 90% awareness inside, with 10% of awareness on a single point of focus in the outside world. So as we start, and I am working up to boundaries in a minute, but
that's great. Yeah.
Okay, so, when we start to think about, one of the best things we can do as highly sensitive people is start to bring some of our awareness back in, because that means we're bringing our energy back in. And there's always, that thing, like, I still have to drive my car and cook dinner and, all that sort of stuff. But I think what a lot of people don't realize is that we talked about 100% in meditation. Most of the population that I have worked with are like 0 to 10% inside. So you can see there's actually so much room to just, even if you just bring 1 or 2% more awareness into your body, slowly you are starting to magnify all of these resources that you have within you, but it is not cutting you off from what you're sensing in the outside world. And so we start to recognize that we are not individual energy beings that operate in isolation of everything else. We are connected to everything. And as a scientist, I always like to say, we are all connected through the unified field. It's a very quantum physics term. Native Americans call it the web of life, right? There's, in every tradition you study, there's this sense that we are all just ripples in the same fabric of existence, and that this fabric is source energy, whether you call it God, whether you call it universe, whether you just sense that there's something out there and you haven't really thought about it. We are connected to each other and to this grid of energy that we all live in. So when it comes to boundaries, and 20 years ago, energy practitioners, we were taught to lock ourselves down, to seal ourselves up. And I think this is a common response to trauma as well. We like lock ourselves down because we just don't, we go into sort of that fright, that not the flight or fight, it's the fright part of our reptilian brain that responds. But in reality, energetic boundaries, when we work with them, are actually, we call them membranes, right? And again, this is a very biological cellular term, but if you think about the membrane of all the cells in our body, it knows exactly what to let in and what to deflect out. So when we start to create energetic boundaries, the first thing we're doing is bringing all of our energy home, as much of our energy as we can, back into our bodies. This is a huge shift for highly sensitive people because we're used to our awareness in the outside world. First thing, just get that embodiment done, and then create a membrane around yourself so that you can let the nourishment of the unified field of source energy, whatever you want to call it, you can let that flow through you. You can receive that healing energy, but at the same time, the membrane keeps out everything that does not serve your highest good, which includes other people's emotions, the energy of a physical space. Sometimes we visit land that is holding vibrations that go back millennia that we can sense because we are so sensitive, but we don't have to take that into our physical body. So kind of a little bit of a long way to get there, but yeah, I think the keys are really bringing that awareness in. So to embody your energy, and then with intention to set the boundary of your aura to be a membrane that keeps you connected while keeping out everything that doesn't serve you.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah, I love that. And I like that idea. And you talked about this before about, our own energy cannot hurt us. Right. So, and obviously there are other energies, but if we are aware enough that, oh, this is what I'm allowing in, through my membrane, I talk about it as being like semi-permeable, it can always go out. You can always send people any kind of energy without having to consider that. And then coming in, you can kind of establish like, oh, well, I know my safe people or my situations or whatever. And so I don't really have to think about it so much if I'm conscious, and I set that intention. And then there's case by case kind of stuff. Sometimes when you start to pick up on things and go, whoa, something's going on. I'm feeling something's off, whatever. And then you can be conscious of that and set that intention of, until I know what this is, or, this is just not feeling okay with me, then I'm not going to let it through, that membrane. But at the same time, having that semi-permeability, because I love that idea. It's like, right, we all are completely connected, and it's the whole web, the matrix, whatever, word you want to use for that energy field. I mean, we have our own fields that we are, in charge of, but then we have that connection with others. And if we have that idea that we need to shut down something to be safe, then we miss out on that connection with the greater energy. So yeah, I love that discussion. And like you said before we started the recording today, that we could talk about this for hours because it's fascinating. But I do get that sense sometimes when highly sensitives come to see me, or when I'm just talking with folks, that it's like can be scary, or that there's oh, I just need to be really aware and tell me what to do so that I don't feel any of this energy. But the idea of realizing that we, it's like flags or whatever, we know something's going on, and then we get to be discerning and decide, oh, is this okay for me or not? And I set that limit or boundary or whatever and say, this person's not great for me, or this situation is too much for me, or whatever it is. And then we can set those limits. But then just having that awareness that, oh, it's energy, everything is energy. I'm in charge of mine. I can create this membrane or a bubble or whatever. But I don't have to shut down from everything else. And then I can enjoy that connection and that interaction with all of that energy, instead of, locking ourselves away and not having those great experiences, right? Because if it's sort of like feelings, if there's certain ones that we're not going to allow, and we say, okay, I'm going to shut down my feelings, then we don't have all those other ones that we get to feel. And the same thing with energy, right? So if we have all these amazing experiences that we can have, that, the stuff that makes you like tingle and get little chills and stuff because it's so amazing, we'd miss out on those kinds of things if we're completely shut down and like, nope, no energy here. can't do it. So
Yeah,
I love that.
it's a little paradoxical. I love that you said the phrase too, everything is energy. I mean, that's just another foundation, and that we do have control over what we do with our own energy. But so much of energy work is paradoxical. It's counterintuitive. One of my favorite practices that really helps people is actually called stop trying. And it's funny, people will like pay all this money to come into a group coaching program. And I'm like, all right, first day, just everyone stop trying. And they're like, what? And it's paradoxical, because if we can, being in receivership of our own energy means not ceasing our physical, mental, and emotional effort and we can all do it right now. If we just sit and be in receivership of our own spirit, that is going to take us so much farther and so much faster in terms of healing than any active effort that we could put into the part of being human, the physical, the mental, the emotional. And when we sit in receivership of our own energy, what we find is that there is a lot of wisdom there that we can use to help us navigate these circumstances. And eventually, when you really get going with your embodiment and your membrane, and you are in receivership of your energy, you said a bubble, I use an egg. I work a lot with kids, so I'm like, let's get inside our egg, and your egg can be so full of your energy that it won't matter what is happening around you. Okay, you could be in the middle of a 10,000 person music festival with noise and fireworks and people, or you could be sitting at your favorite cafe reading your favorite book. And once you get into the embodiment and the membrane, it doesn't matter where you are. You can be in either of those places and be so confident in your energy that then you don't even have to think about it anymore. And that's kind of the ideal. But I've gotten there myself as a highly sensitive person, and I've seen other highly sensitive people work with their energy, where that constant vigilance and awareness, it does eventually drop away. And you start to just exist in a state of being where you just feel really strong on the inside. And I think that can make all the difference.
Yeah. And I think, I'm just keep getting these hits on how, how connected this is with our intuition, right? It's all about listening to ourselves, and that can be seen as like, oh, I've got a thought I need to pay attention to because it keeps coming up. But it's also a lot of that like felt sense, like, whoa, I'm feeling something in my body, what I'm reacting to something. And if we're aware of energy, the same thing, the stuff all comes in. But I think, learning that stuff can be so intense and kind of shutting some of that stuff down, we can have a harder time, a little bit more of a challenge listening to our intuition and trusting it, and trusting that felt sense of what the energy means, and not automatically just saying, oh, I'm feeling energy, that's not okay, I have to, block all that out or whatever. But getting to that place where you can sit with yourself and say, oh, okay, what am I experiencing? What is this reaction or this sense that I have? Recognizing that I have total control over if I'm allowing that in or not. And what does it actually mean for me? Because that's the big thing with, highly sensing people, right? When we make meaning for everything. And if we make a meaning that's negative or scary or, that we don't want, that's going to perpetuate our whole experience, versus if we're open to saying, oh, okay, well, let me see what this is all about, connect with my intuition, go inside, have that felt sense and say, okay, what is this telling me? And, I just have that experience.
So much of energy is information. I was on a hunt to really understand like what is energy from a scientific point of view. And I made a little mini course called What is Energy? I don't know if you've seen it. It's free on my app, and I'll give you the link for that. But what I found is that so much of energy is this inherent information that we hold. And it's information that we sometimes are able to bring to our conscious mind, but in a lot of times it's information passed around that our mind like will never understand. But I did also want to backtrack for a second and say, like, as a highly sensitive person working with your energy, it's not all puppies and rainbows. I think I kind of made it sound like that because it you know what it is? It's like a spiral up. Okay. And you will have times of incredible spiritual and energetic growth, and your physical body will be like, I can't. And then the physical body, goes into a dip of fatigue as it gets used to new vibrations, as it integrates. And for highly sensitive people, I think these cycles tend to be a little bit more rapid, if you will. But unlike when you're a highly sensitive person and you're constantly up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, this kind of up and down is more like you're always trending towards growth. And I think that that's the difference between working with your energy and just trying to survive, right? And just going into survival mode. And the thing about using our intuition for information, it definitely, like, don't be hard on yourself. It takes a long time to build that trust. But one little trick, again, that anyone can try, now or moving forward is, if your intuition brings fear, then your mind is too much involved. Okay, your energy, anything that comes forward that brings any kind of fear-based emotion is, for me, that's always when I pause and I say, this is out of resonance really with energy in general, right? The energy, the healing energies are always love-based. So if there is a fear, you can I always like to say, hit the pause button. And instead of going protective, which we are so trained to do as highly sensitive people, is to see if you can change your paradigm to wonderment. Because there's actually been some studies that show that if you have a curiosity factor and a wonderment factor, and you're working on acceptance of uncertainty, which again takes a lot of practice, the outcomes are always so much better. And for me, the clarity is so much better. So I'm sensing something, my intuition is telling me something. Instead of locking down, ramping up the fear, it's a pause and saying, I wonder what's about to unfold, and with that wonderment and curiosity, the information just starts to come through so much clearer. So again, that's just like this tiny little shift that I think we can make as highly sensitive people to really anchor into that intuition.
Love that. And just as a little side, since you brought that up, I discovered also that, which you probably know, experiencing a lot of or more of than average awe and wonder also boosts your immune system, which I think is fascinating and fabulous, right?
Yep.
It's like, all we have to do is experience all these things that we already do, all these things that we notice, and we get so much, charge out of it all, and we're helping ourselves by that, which I think is great. And like we said, we could talk hours and hours and hours, but we actually have run out of time. So I wanted to give you just a moment, if you could talk just a little bit about your program that you had mentioned, and then I'll put the link for that in the notes.
Sure. So again, just on my hunt to understand things from my engineering mind, I have a program called Easy Living for Sensitive People, and it's my top 10 energy practices that I have found. It's totally geared towards the energetic patterns that I have seen in highly sensitive people, throughout the years. And this includes things like, we tend to not have our energy in chakras 1, 2, 3. Like, it's just something that is a pattern in energy. So it's 10 practices that anybody can do. It is a self-paced program. But yeah, it's just, and it is, the whole program starts by saying, did someone tell you were too sensitive, like it was a bad thing? Because what we can do is learn how to set our boundaries, how to embody our energy, how to get that energy into our lower chakras for grounding, how to accept uncertainty and the infinite potential within us. So it's a mix of science, it's a mix of energy. I actually brought a little bit of like woo-woo into it, which, as an engineer was kind of hard for me to do, but yeah, and I would love to offer it to your audience for like half off, because I think this is such an important tool for us to have in our toolbox. So I'd love to hear what people think.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone, as always, for joining me and being here to go from surviving to thriving. And thank you so much for joining us today, Kristin, with all of your wealth of knowledge. And I hope you guys will all check out her information. I'll have that dropped into the show description so you can connect. And I will see you again next time. I'm going to say bye for now on the recording, and we will. Okay, if I can find it.
Thanks for having me, Tammy.
Thank you.